Kamala Das, celebrated for her female gender-based politics of writing, for her écriture féminine, for writing the woman's body into language, blazed a trail of emancipation for Indian women in the last few decades of the 20th century. Thus, apparently imagining women as a coherent group with a natural gender identity waiting to be enunciated. Her writings thus seemed to validate the idea of a pre-discursive core gender identity that made Indian women inherently different from Indian men. However, rereading her works, her interviews, her autobiographies in 2012, I'm fascinated to see how her writings continue to yield fresh and more subversive possibilities. Critical studies of Kamala Das have looked at her work as belonging to a signifying economy that writes woman into language, assuming that there is a female identity waiting to be represented. However, analyzing her writings in the light of theoretical premises like those of Judith Butler, one can see how her poetry repeatedly illustrates the performativity of gender, where she exposes those acts that constitute the illusion of a stable gender identity. The culturally inflected acts that construct her as an Indian woman and the contingency of the practices of that performance helped Amy, alias Madhavikutty, alias Kamala Das, alias Dr. Kamala Suraiya, give the clarion call for gender trouble, implicitly underlying how it is only the numerous masquerades of femininity and masculinity that constitute the apparent coherence and stability of gender. Interestingly enough, Julia Kristeva's arguments regarding poetic language being a resurfacing of the libidinal impulses of the female maternal body in writing, the semiotic puncturing the paternal logos has often been applied on the poetry of Kamala Das. However, a rereading would help one shrug off the load of this essentialist trap and reveal how, in more than one way, Das's poetry has conceptualized motherhood as a product of the very discourse that attributes ontological status on it. She posits the notion of a subject formed through repetitive practices of signification, parodying the inhabitability, if at all, of ontological locations. Her poetry thus often becomes a genealogy of the discursive construction of bodies within a conventional Indian society, revealing the performativity of both sex and gender as a result of numerous interpellations and citations.